is a story I hate.
She received standing ovations from millions, then disappeared. What happened to the girl once called the future of classical music? This is the story of Emanne Beasha, a voice that once made seasoned judges cry, a child who stood on the biggest stages and made opera go viral. But years after her rise, her name barely makes headlines. Is it simply the fate of childhood fame, or is there something deeper happening behind the silence? In this special report, we investigate the life of this young talent, from her earliest beginnings in Jordan to her breathtaking performances in the United States, and what may be one of the most quietly challenging transitions ever faced by a young artist on the global stage. Stay with us as we uncover the untold chapters behind the applause. Before the spotlight, there was a girl who sang in her living room, with a voice far beyond her years. Emanne Beasha was born on September 18, 2008 in Amman, Jordan. Her father is Jordanian of Circassian descent, a community known for its rich cultural traditions, while her mother is American, bringing a dual heritage that shaped both Emanne's worldview and artistic expression. According to early interviews and family reports, Emanne began singing operatic melodies as early as age 6 without formal training. Her ability to memorize complex lyrics in Italian, feel the emotion of the compositions, and execute them with clarity baffled even those in the classical music scene. Family friends claimed her voice would stop you in your tracks, and early videos of her performing at home were circulated within Jordanian expat circles before going viral. This young girl's home wasn't filled with the pressure of competition. It was filled with music, encouragement, and the hope that her voice could be a gift, not just a performance. But as with many young prodigies, the world doesn't just watch, they begin to expect. And expectations were about to rise quickly. Her family relocated between Jordan and the US during her childhood, often to accommodate both education and performance schedules. This global upbringing would later help her transition between Arabic and Western audiences, but would also lead to challenges in defining where and to whom she truly belonged. Coming up next, how this soft-spoken girl would captivate an entire region. She didn't just win a talent show, she rewrote what it meant to be an Arab artist in the modern age. In 2017, Emanne Beasha entered the 6th season of Arab's Got Talent, a pan-regional competition spanning dozens of countries and watched by millions across the Middle East and North Africa. She was just 8 years old. Performing Time to Say Goodbye in perfect Italian, her delivery was raw, unfiltered, and almost surreal given her age. She earned the Golden Buzzer, a moment reserved for the most impactful performances, and eventually she won the entire competition. She became a household name overnight. But this wasn't just a television moment. The King of Jordan himself, King Abdullah II, would later award her the King's Medal of Merit, making her the youngest recipient in Jordan's history. In a country where opera is not a dominant genre, Emanne's rise symbolized not just personal achievement, but cultural breakthrough. The media labeled her Jordan's angel. Interviews flooded in. International invitations followed. But with recognition came the pressure to maintain excellence. And behind the smile of an 8-year-old was a girl who had just begun to realize the weight of being seen as a national treasure. Next, we uncover how Emanne would cross oceans and land on one of the world's biggest stages. One aria, 4 yeses, a moment that made grown men weep and launched a child into global fame. The season of America's Got Talent that would etch Emanne Beasha's name into entertainment history. In her audition, Emanne performed the timeless aria Nessun Dorma. Dressed modestly, standing almost timidly before the microphone, no one expected the voice that came out of her. As soon as she hit the high notes, the entire audience, thousands in the Dolby Theater, rose to their feet. The judges were visibly stunned. Julian Ho looked to tears. Simon Cowell leaned forward, visibly speechless. All 4 judges said yes. But that wasn't the climax. Weeks later, during the Judge Cuts round, Emanne performed Caruso, a vocally demanding piece. Special guest Jay Leno was so moved, he hit the golden buzzer, sending her straight to the live shows. That made Emanne one of the very few contestants in franchise history to receive golden honors in 2 versions of Got Talent. The American media praised her as the opera prodigy we didn't know we needed. She was invited to interviews, concerts, and feature articles across both continents. Yet even at this peak, questions arose. How would she grow into this fame? Could her young voice withstand the demands of professional pressure? And most importantly, what happens after the applause fades? The answer is what fans expected. After capturing the hearts of millions, she vanished. No scandals, no farewell, just silence. Why? In the months following her America's Got Talent finale performance, expectations soared for Emanne Beasha. Industry insiders predicted record deals, international tour, and perhaps even a classical crossover album. She had the looks, the poise, and most importantly, a world-class voice. But then something unexpected happened. She seemed to disappear. By early 2020, the entertainment world was struck by an unprecedented global health crisis. Like many performers, Emanne's scheduled performances were cancelled, including her high-profile collaborations with Dutch violinist and conductor André Rieu. According to promotional materials at the time, she had been confirmed to join his world tour, performing in major arenas across the United States. But as venues shut down and flights were grounded, the music industry slowed to a halt. For young performers like Emanne who were just building momentum, this wasn't just a pause, it was a derailment. Some industry analysts speculate that the critical years of her vocal development may have aligned with this forced break. And while she was shielded from the burnout seen in other child stars, she also lost visibility at a time when consistency was key to sustaining relevance. Fans began asking, where is Emanne Beasha? Her social media accounts went quiet. There were no official statements, no publicized health concerns, and no mention of contract disputes. For many, the silence was unsettling, not because it suggested scandal, but because it implied something even more delicate. That behind the stage lights, a child was being given space to grow up away from the noise. But what few realized is that growing up in the classical music world isn't as simple as waiting. Because while fans waited, her voice was changing. Up next, the comeback signs and the battles behind the curtains. Just when the world assumed she'd stepped away for good, she walked back on stage and stunned us again. In 2023, subtle signs began to emerge that Emanne Beasha wasn't done with the stage. After nearly 3 years of limited public appearances, she was quietly listed as a featured guest performer for André Rieu's USA tour, scheduled across major venues such as the Amerant Bank Arena and Prudential Center. Unlike her earlier fame, these announcements weren't splashed across every entertainment outlet. Instead, they were modestly included in tour press releases and social media updates from Rieu's team. But to dedicated fans, it was enough. The prodigy was back. Witnesses at the performances describe a matured version of Emanne, still carrying that operatic precision, but now with deeper resonance and greater emotional control. Gone was the wide-eyed girl in front of the microphone. In her place stood a young woman, reconnecting with the audience in a more grounded, confident way. And yet some noticed differences beyond vocal tone. Insiders report that behind the scenes, there were heated discussions about how Emanne should re-enter the spotlight. Some campaigned for a full-blown classical album release. Others pushed for viral online content, cover songs, or even pop collaborations. The tension, balancing the purity of her art with the evolving demands of today's music algorithms and short attention spans. It's a dilemma faced by many young talents: stay true to form or adapt to trends. For Emanne, the answer remains unclear. But one thing's certain, her reappearance wasn't an accident, it was deliberate, controlled, measured. And it came with a silent message: she never really left. What's more, she may be preparing for something even bigger. But is she ready to face the most personal challenge yet? That's next. Her biggest challenge wasn't on stage, it was inside her, and it couldn't be solved with practice. For young opera singers, the most dangerous part of their career isn't public criticism, it's biology. Emanne Beasha, like all child vocalists, eventually reached an age where the body begins to change. For girls, this doesn't lead to the dramatic vocal drops boys experience during puberty, but it still impacts tone, control, vocal stamina, and register. As her body matured, so did her vocal technique. High notes became harder to access, phrasing required new breathwork, vibrato needed to be retrained. For a young woman known for a voice beyond her years, this was a full recalibration. But the technical battle was only one part of the struggle. Emanne's cultural identity, Jordanian and American, created a unique sense of dual belonging. In Jordan, she's a national treasure. In America, she's a rising star. But bridging both worlds often meant navigating different expectations. In some regions, there's an emphasis on modesty, tradition, and classical excellence. In others, success is measured in online views, branding, and showbiz charisma. Caught between two continents, Emanne had to decide: was she a global opera ambassador, a classical crossover act, a bilingual cultural icon? These weren't questions the average 15-year-old had to answer. Social media, too, added a layer of complexity. Fans wanted updates, brands wanted content, music platforms demanded consistency. But behind the scenes, this was a teenager navigating not only performance schedules but self-discovery under the gaze of millions. Despite the noise, one thing became clear: Emanne Beasha was not just a voice, she was a person. And her decision to step back during these formative years may have been the most powerful note she ever hit. So what now? Let's look at what the future may hold for the girl who defied silence. If you were building a global comeback, would you announce it loud or wait for the perfect moment to strike? As of late 2025, there has been no official statement from Emanne Beasha's team regarding a full-scale return to the mainstream spotlight. No major record label deal, no televised interview circuit, no headline-grabbing drama. But perhaps that's the point. In a world where virality often comes at the cost of privacy, Emanne appears to be choosing a different path, one marked by careful planning, artistic focus, and personal growth. Industry watchers suggest she may be taking the long route, strengthening her technique, testing her voice in live performances, building connections with classical veterans like Andre Rieu, and bidding her time until a true artistic reinvention is ready. There have been quiet indicators of this strategy. Her Instagram account, while not overly active, has shown glimpses into her rehearsals, vocal warm-ups, and tour moments. She shares music covers occasionally, though not always aligned with what the trending algorithms would prioritize. Her YouTube page remains modest in output but sincere in delivery. In private circles, however, some speculate she may be preparing a genre pivot, perhaps a soft crossover into cinematic music, original composition, or even multilingual pop infused with operatic undertones, a style that few have dared to master. Others suggest a more traditional approach: international competitions, conservatory training, and eventual leadership within global orchestras or opera houses. Whatever path she takes, it's clear she's walking it on her own terms. And there's a kind of strength in that, especially for someone who's already tasted the extremes of fame. If her journey so far has taught us anything, it's that Emanne Beasha doesn't rush. She doesn't overexpose. She moves with purpose, not pressure. So the question isn't if she'll make a full return. The question is, when she does, will the world be ready for what she's become? Not every spotlight fades because of failure. Sometimes it fades so the artist can find their real light. Emanne Beasha's story defies the usual trajectory of young fame. She didn't fall from grace. She was cancelled, caught in controversy, or buried by bad press. Instead, she did something far more radical in today's content-obsessed age. She stepped away. She left the stage, at least partially, not in defeat but in reflection. From her childhood living room in Amman to golden buzzers in 2 continents to royal medals and viral clips that captivated millions, her rise was meteoric. But it's the silence that followed which truly defines her resilience. In that silence, she matured, her voice changed, her priorities evolved. And while the world waited for her next move, she made a decision to return on her own terms or not at all. Today, we stand at a crossroads with Emanne Beasha. Is she preparing an artistic transformation that will redefine her place in music? Or is she choosing a quieter, more intentional path, one not designed for clicks but for craft? Only time will tell, but one thing is certain: when Emanne sings, people listen. And when she's ready, the world will hear her again. If this story moved you or made you curious about what's next for this remarkable artist, leave a comment below. What style do you want to hear her sing next? What kind of project should she pursue? And if you followed her journey from the beginning, share your favorite Emanne moment. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications, because when she takes the stage again, you'll want to be the first to know.